The best thing that can happen to any actor is getting a role to play. It usually doesn't matter what the role is, from Shakespeare to soap commercials, just as long as it's a job. Well, there are some actors in Houston, Texas, who may have some regrets about the roles they played for a local television program. Our Frank Grimes will explain this unusual dilemma to us, as well as to some residents of Houston who seem to be confused.
Hey, lady, we want your car.
The woman sprayed the mace in the attacker's face, but he then pulled out a pistol.
What you are looking at is a reenactment or dramatization of an unsolved crime from the files of the Houston, Texas Police Department.
The suspects wanted in this case are described as black males in their late 20s or early 30s.
This is just one of hundreds of dramatizations of real crimes that viewers have seen on KTRK TV in Houston since the Crime Stoppers program started there in 1981. Each reenacted crime is shown on station KTRK about 5 times during a one-week period. Viewers are reminded that if they help catch the bad guys, the reward can be more than just personal satisfaction.
Call Crime Stoppers at 222-TIPS. Your identity will remain anonymous. Crime Stoppers also pays cash rewards for information leading to the solution of any felony crime.
He'll come in just a second when she's by the book counter.
KTRK TV shoots and edits the Crime Stoppers scenes, but the scenes are scripted by Houston Patrolman Kenny Weiner. Of course, the scripts are based on actual crime reports. Sometimes all Officer Weiner has to do is duplicate the crime from security cameras that caught the real action as it happened, as in this store robbery. And to make Crime Stoppers even more realistic, Officer Weiner tries to get actors who look like the actual criminals. Here he and some of his actors are talking about how they reenacted this robbery.
Did he do anything?
We'll watch him. He's constantly, he's got her in a chokehold, and he's, you know.
Police Officer Weiner has about 500 actors to choose from here in the Houston area. Not all of them professionals. But when you act in a Crime Stopper sequence, you don't get paid. It's just a chance to be on TV. It's good exposure. But then again, sometimes the exposure is not so good.
For instance, the actress in the middle is Carol Alvarado. This is what KTRK viewers heard and saw in this dramatization, that's the key word here, folks, of an actual crime.
We don't want no trouble.
The man in the pickup truck turned into a killer.
As you can see, Carol is just fine. Only the character she was playing was killed. But some friends of Carol's didn't understand that.
I had people calling to my house, friends, family, crying on the phone, what happened to Carol? You know, who shot her? Where was she? And my mom knew what I was doing, so she explained to the family and friends that it was only a reenactment of a crime.
Actor Mike Morales has his own story. This clean-cut looking guy was portraying a serial rapist in a Crime Stoppers that was aired a number of times in 1 week.
No, please stop! The man pushed his way in, displaying a pocket knife in his right hand.
Not long after that dramatization was shown on TV, Mike, in his real life, went to the home of a young woman for his first date with her. When his lady friend introduced Mike to her father, Dad's mouth fell open in surprise.
Told his daughter to go into the other room. He'd like to talk to her. So they both went into the other room and started having a conversation, and I could hear whispers and kind of an argumentative situation. And she comes back and she says, I'm sorry, I cannot go out with you. And of course, we were already, everything was already set. And I asked her why, and she says, because my father says you are the rapist that he saw last week.
Mike says the girl's father didn't speak English very well, so it took Mike about a month before Dad understood that Mike was only a make-believe rapist.
The clerk was at the book counter when the robber came in and grabbed her from behind.
Ah! What is this? Oh,
Give me all your money.
This actor's name is Reggie Harrison. In this Crime Stopper sequence, he was reenacting the actual store robbery we showed you earlier. The day after the dramatization was seen on KTRK TV, Reggie was wearing the same clothes he had on while playing the criminal. Someone, quote, recognized Reggie as a criminal and called the cops on him.
What'd you tell him?
I had to show him a card. I had a card that identifies me as being a Crime Stopper member. I work for Crime Stopper doing dramatizations. And it got me out of trouble. Well, it got me to the station, but it got me out of trouble once I got to the station.
Oh, man.
With one suspect holding a gun on the cab driver, the second drove away, heading east on Holcomb, turning south on Highway 288.
Here's another of Reggie's performances. He's been acting in Crime Stoppers for 4 years. He plays mostly bad guys, so Reggie is always being mistaken for a criminal. One time he was in Astro World, and somebody thought he was the murderer he had portrayed on TV.
Police came. We ran from one in Astro World to the next. So everybody's chasing me. Yeah, everybody's chasing me. Everybody wanted a piece of $1,000.
Reggie thinks that some people are so interested in getting the reward money for catching the bad guys, they forget that the bad guys they see in Crime Stoppers are only actors. Patrolman Kenny Weiner doesn't have any firm theories on why so many viewers are confused by the Crime Stopper reports, but his favorite story is about the woman who called Crime Stoppers after watching a reenactment of a man shooting another man and then running away.
She said, well, if y'all had a camera out there on scene, how come y'all weren't able to catch the guy? You know? So it's pretty humorous.
What do you say to somebody like that?
You try to explain to them that this was all a recreation and that they're actors. And after most of the people, when they call in, after you tell them that, they feel kind of stupid.
We'll give the last word to the much sought-after Reggie Harrison.
Common sense. People, please use common sense. You know, say dramatization, that means acting is not really happening. Houston, get with it. It's a dramatization, please.
You're not a criminal.
I'm not a criminal. I'm the nicest guy you ever want to meet.
And when we return, maybe it's not the fastest way to travel, but it's about the cheapest.